Hi, Julia. How are you? Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Marina. So good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Okay, I'll do a brief intro and then we're going to get into all the questions that I have for you, which I'm very
Sounds
excited to cover.
great.
So,
Me
hi
too.
everyone. I'm Marina Penn. I'm co-founder of NABI, and we are here with Julia Glotzer. Julia is a board certified nutrition specialist. She's a licensed dietitian, nutritionist, and health coach who specializes in hormonal imbalances, metabolic health, and advanced blood chemistry interpretation. Wowza. She holds a master's degree in human nutrition from the University of Bridgeport and additional certifications in hormonal health, including fertility training from the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, A4M. And she began her career in London, and she continues to teach for the Academy of Blood Chemistry in the UK. And she has also worked in the US continuous glucose monitoring CGM space, providing data-driven nutrition support based on real-time blood glucose levels. And Julia sees patients through her telehealth practice, Vibrant People Nutrition. So we're going to share all her information at the end of this conversation. But very happy, Julia, to have this conversation with you today, and thank you for making time.
Thank
So
you so
we're
much.
going, yeah, we're going. Yeah, I have so many questions for you.
Yay.
Especially, yeah, especially now that we're getting into that time of the year where we tend to, just like overeat or make, less smart choices around our food. But um, let's, just get into something that every woman in their 40s asks, myself included. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
who haven't changed anything around what they're eating, that they are just training the same way that they did, and just they are not able to shed their weight away, or even they are gaining weight, even if everything else staying the same in their routine. So really would love your thoughts around what's actually happening in your body during perimenopause and during,
Mm-hmm.
our 40s, and, why we cannot shed that stubborn weight.
Oh my gosh, yeah, what a great question. And well, I mean, as we all know, and I think you probably like if you're into this topic, you probably heard about it, that in perimenopause, even though every woman will feel slightly different at different ages. It's like some women will start feeling it even in late 30s. Some women will feel great up until like mid 40s. But overall, in perimenopause, the estrogen starts declining, even though it can like act kind of erratic. Yeah, like we see this like graphs when it just goes up and down, but overall it's declining, and your progesterone is actually really declining. So those shifts will impact your number one insulin sensitivity, which is huge because with declining estrogen, you'll become less insulin sensitive. It means like the things that you would be eating before and you would be like fine, now you will start gaining weight because you're more you can like metabolize glucose the same way. And if in the meantime you're losing muscle, like again, everybody's different. Someone will say, oh, I exercise the same way. What does it mean? Like, how do you exercise? Like, what do you do? If it's just yoga, for example, which I love, but maybe it might not be enough for you. You're losing muscle, you're losing estrogen, you're losing your insulin sensitivity, eating the same way. Maybe you're skipping breakfast, but now you're more sensitive to it. Because it's not just insulin resistance, it's also how those hormones impact your cortisol. And if cortisol is imbalanced, and balanced, it means, for instance, progesterone will help to calm your brain. It has like this amazing impact on your immune system. So with cortisol acting differently at this time of life, you might be more susceptible to stress. You might be more in chronic stress response, which increases inflammation, which increases your glucose in your blood. All these things start to happen on the background. You don't realize that, but like all these things will impact how you metabolize glucose, how sensitive you are to insulin, if you can't sleep through the night because the progesterone is very low, like you already wake up and you're already less sensitive to glucose. So it's just like there's so many changes that happening on the background. And I think it's amazing that women kind of try to figure out that, how to deal with these changes because you can just make small little shifts in your lifestyle and nutrition. It can have a huge impact just because you understand your body. It's like not something is wrong with you. It's just like, yeah, the things are happening. And if you are in the stress response constantly, you most likely will try to also like help yourself, with like certain foods. You might not admit it, but maybe like reaching for those foods because they make you feel comfortable. But because you're so stressed and you can't deal with stress at this stage of life the same way, you're not as robust, your response is not as resilient. So all these little things that actually impact, and if you start when you actually start asking questions like women at this stage, you just realize, well, there's so many things that actually are changing, and the way they deal with stressors, for example, is different. And they will start to admit, oh yeah, like now I started drinking wine every night to unwind. Okay, this impacts the way your belly, maybe like this impacts that like deposition of more fat around your belly. Maybe you have to have snacks all the time now because you don't eat breakfast, you don't have time for it. All these things, and I was like, yeah, you think you didn't change anything, but maybe you did change some things. I think it is important to kind of like actually assess what are you doing on a
Yes.
daily basis. Yes, hormones are changing, but there's so much you can do. Still, it's not like.
But tell me a little bit about that, because from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of things that are happening inside your body that you don't
Mm-hmm.
have control of, that are
Yeah.
changing and shifting, that are impacting the way that um, your weight is distributed, or even fat is
Mm-hmm.
stored in your body. So it's, it's not business as usual. There's things that
Yeah.
you want to start thinking about or changing. So what do you think, those things are? Like, what are
Yeah.
the things that you could apply,
Mm-hmm.
or start looking at and making adjustments?
Yeah, and just because like what I mentioned right now with this insulin resistance, maybe a little bit more inflammation, maybe, like not the same quality of sleep. So what you can do, of course, like look at your sleep, number one, super important, right? Like, do you sleep through the night? How many hours of deep sleep do you get? Like if you track, like I see you like Aura, me too. I think it's so helpful, tracking is very helpful actually because sometimes you don't pay attention, you get used to feel a certain way, but data doesn't lie. It will show you, and maybe if you start thinking about it, okay, so actually, if I have a glass of wine, I don't wake up rested. I think like I pass out, but it doesn't mean I get a good deep sleep, right? So I wake up the next day, I'm kind of groggy. Maybe I want something sweet because my sugar is just like kind of already elevated. And the whole day is different. Like after that kind of night of like this kind of sleep after a glass of wine. So think, well, okay, maybe a glass of wine at night every day doesn't work for me anymore, for instance, right? Like that can be a difference, right? Like alcohol. Another thing, like maybe you can try some supplements that help you sleep. Like for example, Nabi supplement has CBD, which works for so many people. It's so anti-inflammatory, right? It helps you sleep. Like it's amazing. For some women, magnesium glycinate works perfectly, right? Going for a walk at night after dinner and not having snacks at night. Do you eat breakfast? That's another important factor. Like I used to skip breakfast and I thought it was amazing. But like again, right now, just because I did some testing on myself, I looked at my cortisol, I realized I need to eat breakfast because I need to raise my cortisol. It was too low in the morning. So like it's just like this subtle changes. Usually it's like breakfast, sleep, and what kind of breakfast do you have? It should be savory, it should be more like a protein, fat, like fiber focused. And then quality of sleep, hydration. How many women would tell me, "Oh, I have my coffee and I run out of the door. Did you drink water before you had your coffee?" Oh, I didn't. Hydration is huge for sugar regulation, like blood glucose, right? The simple things. Hydrate first thing in the morning. How did you sleep? Did you sleep well? Did you have your breakfast? Did you eat something, even if it's a yogurt, maybe with a scoop of protein powder in there, maybe yogurt with some like nuts in there. You already like sent your body a signal that you're safe, you had your food, and then you go about your day. Things like that, they can make a huge shift actually in those people who like in those women who just don't realize they don't do those things. And now maybe they can change and start doing those things and paying attention. So yes, of course, everybody knows about resistance training, right? Like moving your body. But think about that your days will start on the night before. So like what did you eat? Did you move? How did you sleep? And when you wake up, it's the like the byproduct of everything you did in the evening, basically, and the night. So then your days can start like with hydration, with good nutrition, like rested after a good night's sleep, or you can be groggy, dehydrated, like your glucose is already elevated, you didn't sleep well. So I mean, this is like a snowball effect, right? If you don't change about those things and you anything, don't change anything about them and just get used to living like that, it will really backfire in perimenopause.
Yeah,
That's
but
like
I love what you're saying, that your day starts the evening
kind of the
before.
night
So
before.
whatever you
Yeah.
did yesterday evening is having an impact on how you're waking up this morning and how your day
Mm-hmm.
is going about. And for example, I went out last night with a friend. We had a meal. I had a meat, and I have wine. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling so crappy. I had
Oh,
really bad sleep last night. I was not able to get breakfast in this morning because I'm still feeling like I'm stuffed. So
uh-huh.
definitely feeling that today, just like my day is 100% impacted on the night, yesterday's night.
Yeah.
It's just like so true. And I love that reframing of how you're starting your day and how you're setting things right like the day before. And it's just like staying in this space of just like what women are doing and what we're not doing and how make things better. What are the biggest mistakes that you see, women that are making, that are applying into their just like everyday normal health routines? What are the things that you're like the most critical things that you're seeing women doing that they should not be doing?
Yeah, I think what I notice, the common thread would be if like you start noticing some changes in your body and you just like kind of freak out and you try to apply the things that used to work before. And for the most part, it's about like really restricting your food intake because like it's we talk about basically weight loss, right? Because a lot of women like when you start getting weight in the places that are not familiar to you, or just like you feel like, oh, like I feel bloated or whatnot, like, okay, let me just like skip this meal, maybe eat a little salad here, and then I'm starving. That's why I'm gonna like snack on a bunch of things, but I'm not gonna think about it because it doesn't count, you know? And just like you keep applying the same things, or you just go to the like some I don't know, some in high intensity class and just like kill myself there, just like completely exhausted. But like this is great because I burned a bunch of calories, like just like the mindset that is applied at this stage of life and like all the, like experiences that you had before that would work. Because if you starve yourself for like a week or two, like you're gonna like shed some weight, you're gonna look great, like in your 20s, like your face will look great, like you sleep fine, like you're gonna go and like kill yourself at some like high intensity, like maybe like cycle classes, whatnot, and it's gonna be fine at that stage of life, but not at this stage of life because again, as what we just discussed, in the ability of metabolizing cortisol, it's shifting. There are so many minor shifts that happening even in the early perimenopause because like all your tissues, all your cells use those hormones that start fluctuating. You have to be so gentle with yourself. You can't punish yourself with those crazy workouts or not eating. Like you need to nourish your body and you need to figure out what works at this stage of life. You need to be strong. Like muscle wasting, muscle loss is real. And if you like stress, undereat, like don't sleep, you won't be able to maintain. I'm not even talking about like building. I'm talking about like even maintaining the muscle. It's so much harder. So I guess those are the major mistakes. And I think all women like grow up, like we learn about how to be thin and small, how not to eat, like how to try to like snack on little things that don't count, even though they do count big time. But it's just like it's all that mindset about like under eating, over exercising. It's always the same. I mean, I understand it very well because I used to think the same way. And I had to change it a little bit, like the way I look at those things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a relief because it works so much better for women, especially like after 40, to kind of shift into that like more nourishing and building your body and resiliency versus like starving yourself and punishing yourself. Like that's basically the mindset that I still see women try to apply, and it's just like so stressful for them and for their body, and it
And
just
for
doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. And let's talk about, because this is tied to, like trying to lose weight, and
Hmm.
it's everywhere today, which is GLP-1s and the GLP-1
Yeah.
conversation. So I'd love to hear your take on what are the benefits and, just like the challenges of using GLP-1s during perimenopause. And what are you seeing in your practice? What are you hearing from your patients? What are you seeing of, working and not working? I love your expert view on this.
Yeah, I had some experience with some clients who use GLP-1s. I personally am not the one who can prescribe those, right? I'm not a doctor. It's like a phrase that I have to say. Well, but I've seen some women who they've been on GLP-1s, and I mean, I guess you have to see like long term, right? Like when you go off this medication, if the goal is to get on it because you truly try to follow nutrition plan that's heavily focused on protein. I know everybody starts hating it, but like you have to hit the certain amount of protein for your needs. And it's at least 100 grams. And if you actually start resistance train, you have to have that at least amount. And so those women who become like very focused on the lifestyle and nutrition, they are most likely able to get off this medication, like for example, like 6 months later, because you're kind of like building up when you start GLP-1, usually you start like with low dose, you're building up, then you have like this maintenance phase and you start tapering off. So ideally when you're tapering off, like you're noticing that you kind of can maintain what you gained and what you lost. I mean, muscle, hopefully that you gained and the weight that you lost. And then, like, when you get off this medication, you already have those practices in place. You know how much protein and, like, in general, food and what kind of food you have to eat during the day and how you exercise. So, those people are most likely to maintain the weight loss that they had. Ideally, they lost way more fat than muscle because muscle loss will happen just inevitably. But as long as you like working on it, like, it's fine, you'll be able to maintain it afterwards. So those people would be successful users because honestly, like I've seen situation when somebody is so discouraged because they gain so much weight in that perimenopausal phase, and everybody's different. Some women experience severe depression. They start eating because of that, right? Like, and something else happened in their family. So like you see that someone gains so much weight, they feel so uncomfortable. They don't want to go to the gym because they feel embarrassed, even though who cares, right? But like this is like what we have in our heads. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this GLP-1 is just like I see how this person becomes so encouraged to go to the gym to like they start feeling the difference in general, like with GLP-1s, especially like even at smaller doses, like you get like this anti-inflammatory effect. So
Mm.
you will, if there is some achy joints or something like that, like you will probably feel much better. You probably won't feel that pain. It's amazing. And it's so interesting, like how these peptides can impact so many systems in the body. Um, but of course, when we talk about microdosing, it's not the same as the dose that's
Yeah.
required for weight loss, right? So there are benefits, and some of these women will experience so much, like they just feel so much better about themselves. So this will encourage them to go back to the gym, to start making all these changes. They will be just like excited about it. And I mean, it's kind of like you think about it, well, could you have done those things not on GLP-1? Probably, but it's like everybody's so different. It's so hard to say like, oh no, you have to do it that way. But if somebody came to me and asked like, oh, should I start GLP-1 because I gained like, I don't know, 20 pounds? I would still want to ask them, like, when did it happen? Did it happen abruptly? What else happened? Did you go on birth control? Did you go on SSRI? Because all those things can
Impact.
increase weight gain. And like, what else happened? Or you've been overweight your whole life and you're just so sick of it and you finally want to make some changes. So like, you have to approach this holistically. And I guess what upsets me is that there's so many ways of getting these medications nowadays without any help from any health practitioner. So like people may really they can really ruin their metabolism and their gut. Actually, there are some side effects that can happen. So if you don't do it the right way, you can be so dependent on this drug and then like experience side effects. And then if you try to get off of it, especially if you got it not through your medical professional, but just online, you're paying out of pocket and you just don't want to pay forever. And then like you get off of it and you gain all the weight back. And it's just so discouraging. And so yeah, it's like I'm sure there is a place for them. I just wish women do it with a proper guidance and understanding that the goal is there is a certain goal, and I don't want to be on this medication forever. In my opinion, that's the goal, because
Yeah.
some doctors will tell you, no, this is like just what you take and it's fine. It's so many great benefits. Yeah, there are great benefits. Any drug comes with side effects, and like I think it can be a tool and it can help you to move the needle if nothing else works. Fine, and then you just want to do it. You want to be smart. You want to be
Yeah.
smart about it, so you can get off of it and maintain most of your gains.
Yeah.
But that happens in
Yeah.
that time, and I think it's doable for sure.
Yeah. Um,
But like one thing that I wanted to mention that
yeah.
I've noticed with those people who I worked with, who women who were on GLP-1s, in that practice that I worked with them at, we did all the blood work and we also looked at other things. We looked at their thyroid, we looked at like where they were in insulin resistance place, like how bad they were, right? Or maybe there was like a really not everybody who gains weight is highly inflamed and has a lot of cardiovascular risks. It just depends how you gain that weight, what else is happening with your health. So like everybody's different. So you have to assess your baseline first. Just don't throw yourself at this, like just don't go for it without any understanding of where you're at health-wise. And like just, I think, yeah, it would be a holistic approach. It's not just GLP-1. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, very short answer to your question.
Yeah,
It's like,
but going into, you're talking about nutrition and you're talking about like having a holistic approach. I'm curious to, because so many things shift during this time, the
mhm.
perimenopause transition, really when we're thinking about women individually as something that you're, assessing for yourself, what, how would you know that your current nutrition approach is not working anymore for you? Like what would be the telling signs? Like even if you say, look, I've always eaten healthy, but what would be the tell of, oh, it's time for me to rethink my nutrition and what I'm putting in my body?
Yeah. So I think it's a very interesting question because, again, with the shifts and changes in your immune system that happen, and also estrogen, progesterone, they both help kind of like maintain that gut integrity. When it gets like we lose that integrity, it's called also like intestinal permeability. Then you start your those proteins from food start to like go through that barrier into your bloodstream. Your immune system might start attacking those proteins that are not familiar. You become like you might develop sensitivities during that time, food sensitivities, for
Mhm.
example, or like some things that like before didn't impact you that much, it started impacting you. So I think if we don't talk even about like any of this like weight gain, right? We just talk about the way you feel. So I would always ask, like, how many, like, do you go to the bathroom every day? Like, how is your, is your stool formed? Like, do you have diarrhea from time to time? Okay, if you have diarrhea after certain meals, what kind of meal was it? Try to like start noticing, like, are there any foods that like you have rush after? Histamine, like estrogen, this ups and downs of estrogen that happens in the later stage of perimenopause can impact so much how you metabolize histamine. So again, maybe you start have rushes after wine. Some women have a glass of wine, they're totally fine. Some will have a rush all over the body. I mean, just try to connect the dots. Like, what did I have that most likely induced this response? If it happens right away, some things are delayed, but so let's say pay attention to your bowel movements. Huge. This is how you detoxify. You just detoxify also your estrogens that route, right? Start noticing like, do you feel more bloated after certain meals? Like also, like, do you chew your food? Like, are you rushing? Is this like how you eat usually? Are you rushing in front of the computer? You have like 5 minutes to eat gigantic bowl of salad. Like, are you like bloated after this? Like, yeah, it's so healthy for you, but is it? Maybe you should eat like cooked vegetables instead. Start like paying attention because healthy doesn't really mean anything. Healthy for you might not be the same as healthy for someone else. Maybe you need to be like more gentle with your digestion. Maybe you need some support. Maybe you need enzymes. Maybe you need like a good blood work that will cover and show like the gallbladder function, your liver enzymes, your pancreatic enzymes, just to understand like, do you need any support? Do you maybe should you remove certain foods and just try anything anti-inflammatory at the stage of life will be so beneficial. And anti-inflammatory usually is like all the things that we like, it's like vegetables, fatty fish, good quality meats, if you eat meat, like different variety of vegetables, right? Like it's just and again, dairy for some women it might not be a great option. For some people, it's totally fine. So it's very individual. That's why I think you have to pay attention. And usually your bowel movements will tell you.
Mm,
Diarrhea, constipation, bloating, like those are the main signs. And then sometimes some people would say, "Oh, I just had that meal and I just feel so foggy after it. Like something is off." Either it gave you like a rush of sugar, of glucose, and then it crashed and you just like can like be completely lost. Or maybe you have some sensitivity to something in that meal that just like it's just like your body gets inflamed and you just can't think straight. So sometimes some women can just go like and try to eliminate certain things. The easiest things like, okay, eliminate dairy for like 3 weeks. Start with 1 week if it's too much. See how you feel. Does it change anything? Maybe you actually start having like loose stools. Great sign. Probably it's not something that's working for you. Maybe you'll have dairy like once, every maybe like on the weekend one time if you go out, right? So it's like it's kind of trial and error. And sometimes if somebody has like is so sick of like trying and figuring it out, you can just do the food sensitivity test.
mm,
There's so many tests, like stool tests, like see if there's any infection. Maybe because again, with loss of hormones and progesterone, like things can start to slow down, like your stomach acid can slow down, like everything can slow down. So like maybe you need some support for your digestive juices, for your stomach acid. Like there's so many things that, like you have to work with someone. If you like kind of lost and tried everything and you're so sick of it, just like work with somebody. Somebody will help you to figure it out because like practitioners like myself included, like we trained to help you navigate and understand because like for example, I would never tell somebody what to do. Like I would help them to figure it out with testing, with right questions, things like that. But again, like long answer to your question, but short answer, just start paying attention. Start paying attention to like your gut symptoms, bowel movements, bloating, rashes that are like weird out of the blue. Something is off. It's just telling you that something is not agreeing with you, and
yeah.
most likely it's food. If we talk about food, right? And again, some of these foods might have never been a problem for you, but because of these changes and how they impact the gut, motility, all the things, and again, inflammation, right? And stress. So, like things shifting. So, just be smart about it. You don't have to freak out, but just like pay attention. If something is giving you diarrhea every single time you eat it, why would you eat it? Clearly, it's upsetting your stomach. You can't digest it. So, just kind of, yeah, pay attention. And maybe journal sometimes can help too, just put it all together. So you just actually read in the end of the week, you just start reading it. I'm like, oh, I have this lunch every single day, and this is what I get after I have this lunch. Something is off.
Yeah.
Just like you'll start putting these things together, and you, on your own, you can figure out a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's interesting because we're so used to telling ourselves, like, I've always had, like, I don't know, like gluten and
Mm-hmm.
bread, and now I feel differently
Mm-hmm.
when I eat it, or dairy, or I was having this conversation with a friend that she has now a sensitivity to eggs, and
Mm-hmm.
she gets these massive headaches after eating
Interesting.
eggs.
Yeah.
So there's like things that you might have in like your whole life and nothing happens,
Yeah.
and during this transition you start feeling different after eating
Mm-hmm.
certain foods. You talked about like brain fog or bloating, or just feel
Mm-hmm.
heavy. So yes, 100% that just like check
Yeah,
it
and it's
out.
so annoying, especially when those foods that are like good for you. Like, like a nice cheese or like, like
Yeah,
yogurt or like eggs, like a multivitamin basically. And it's so annoying. But the thing is, you have to look at your gut because, as I said, integrity of the gut might change. That lining that protects that kind of separates whatever is happening in your gut and your bloodstream, right? So actually catching those things early and making minor changes and actually working on strengthening the immune system of your gut can help you actually over time like build resiliency and start tolerating the foods that you currently may be giving you this brain fog. So it doesn't mean that forever you can't eat eggs. Something, it just gives you the sign that now for some reason you develop that response, so something is going on in your gut. It's time to pay attention and to like do the things that usually help increase gut motility, improve your microbiome, things like that. It shouldn't be just like, oh, now I don't eat this, now I don't this, I don't you just like that's just a signal for you
yeah.
that you need to shift.
And let me ask you, because you're talking about like things that could not work for you, and just
Hmm.
like developing food sensitivities and things, changing during this time. But as we think about things that we really want to eat, that we really want to make sure that we're putting in our bodies like every
Hmm.
day, just what are the things that we want to prioritize from a nutrition perspective to help with hormone regulation, with gut health, with inflammation, with all the things that we know, with just like muscle, what are the things
Hmm.
that we should thinking of making part of our nutritional choices every day?
Yeah. So I guess if we talk like kind of generally, like generally speaking, it's everything you would think about if you think about Mediterranean diet, even though you probably know like different countries in different parts of Europe around Mediterranean, they differ. But it's mostly like healthy fats. They come from fatty fish like mackerel, salmon, things like that. It's amazing for the brain. It's anti-inflammatory. Those fats, very anti-inflammatory. Everything anti-inflammatory is great. Vegetables. Again, like if gigantic salad or like cold smoothie from like with spinach and all the things doesn't make you bloated, eat your vegetables cooked. Like you don't have to eat like gigantic bowls of raw salad because that might not work for you, but you need vegetables still, right? Like so consume as many vegetables as you can in different forms. Doesn't have to be huge amounts every day. Just like try to, you know, consume a variety. Like every day there should be vegetables in your meals. Protein should be like a focus. I always say, like, if you're not one of those people like myself, I hate tracking meals and calories. Like, I don't like that, but actually doing it for 1 week sometimes can be so eye-opening because you realize how much of certain things you overeat and how much you undereat. Like women tend to overeat carbohydrates and fats and undereat protein. But if you bring protein up, if you just make it like as a focus, at least like for a week or two, you will realize how much less of other things you want and how many less cravings you have. Once you hit that like threshold for yourself with protein, just make it like a core of the plate. And usually, like as I say, like it's so easy. It's a palm of your hand. This is about like 30 grams. It could be like a piece of chicken. Eggs would be way more eggs, obviously. But like if you talk about like a piece of like protein, uh, it can be also vegetarian source, like tofu, but typical chicken or meat or like fish, right? And then like add vegetables, and then there will be some starchy carbs, which can be potatoes, which can be rice, any grains, if you're fine with them, but they should be like a third piece. It's also important, but like try to focus on vegetables and protein, and then everything else will follow. And I think the focus should be like on actually the order of the foods that you're eating. So you make sure you consume your vegetables and your protein. And then if you like full, then most likely you won't finish your rice or your potatoes or, whatever that is else on the plate. So if you like lead with that, it's so much easier. Like, and everybody have their own preferences, but for the most part, it's vegetables and good quality proteins, right? And fats like olive oil, like buy good quality. You don't have to like put too much, but like just try to understand that your body like requires nourishment. So it just don't kind of like don't deprive yourself of good quality food. Just like read the label. Don't eat foods that have like a bunch of the list of things, like of additives, like flavors. And my goodness, I was trying to find pickles. Like, why do you need like three different flavors and also color? Like, why? Just start reading the labels and actually think like, well, the simplest foods usually the most nourishing.
Yeah.
And of course, ideally, you want to cook them for yourself. But there are also even amazing food delivery services right now, like the meal delivery services. If this is, and you know that it's not going to happen for you, you're not going to cook, find a good quality, see if they like focus on the amount of protein, because it is important for us to focus on protein because this will help us with insulin sensitivity. We have to. Fiber, protein, they bring so many nutrients with them. It's not just protein and fiber, it's like all this amazing amino acids and vitamins and minerals, all the things. And supplements will be on top. Like, you'll never be able to eat all these things through supplements. You have to have them from foods. So, yeah. So I don't know if I answered, did I answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah, no, this is amazing. It's just keeping it simple. And it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
these are the critical things that you need to be thinking about to give your body what it craves and what it will benefit the most from during this
yeah.
time. And
Definitely
then
keep it simple. Simple. It's very simple to eat this way.
yeah. And then I was thinking also in terms of supplementation, because we hear a lot about, okay, things that you might not be able to incorporate, with food, or you don't get it enough from food. So you want to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
you're, like topping that up with some supplements. Like what are, just like I personally take omega-3 and vitamin
Uh-huh.
D3, just like some examples of supplements that I take just to just like support some calcium,
Mm-hmm.
some nutritional thresholds that I want
Mm-hmm.
to reach. So what's your take on supplementation and how you bring it along with the nutritional aspect of things?
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. Like there's a lot of things that it's just like you can't solely rely on food to get from, especially vegetables and how they're grown and just like you kind of like expect to see this amount of like magnesium and zinc and this thing and that thing, but like does that food actually have it? Like you don't know. And because of the state of the soil and how thing and we grow these things, if we talk about like vegetable and and starch and like all this like things that come from the soil, relying on those amounts of like nutrients that we expect to meet by consuming those vegetables that grow in this depleted soil is like most likely not going to happen. So you have to add supplementation. Typically, like what you said, I really like vitamin D and K2, usually like a really good combination because, oh my goodness, like I love blood work, right? And every time I see people's blood work, 90% of the time people have very low vitamin D. And especially those who actually live in the sunny parts, funny enough, because they put SPF all over their bodies and they just don't absorb any vitamin D. They can't make it in their skin. This is where it begins, right? So like people in Florida, everybody has such low vitamin D levels, right? Super important hormone. You might be depressed if your vitamin D is low, right? Like it supports your bones, supports your immune system, such an important player in the immune system. So yeah, vitamin D, vitamin K2, magnesium is important because if you supplement with higher doses of vitamin D, like higher, I mean like maybe 5,000 I use in the like flu season or whatever, add magnesium because it's important. It's important to actually metabolize vitamin D. So usually you have to add some magnesium.
What
And
what
in
kind of
general,
magnesium?
so typically if you want to raise magnesium levels and also get some benefits maybe for the brain, for the nervous system, magnesium glycinate is the best form, I find. Magnesium citrate can be helpful if you like have some constipation issues, so
Yeah.
you might take it. And for some people, actually, magnesium citrate even like helps with sleep. I mean, it's so by individual, but typically it's magnesium glycinate because of glycine that helps like calm down the brain and like helps with sleep. Magnesium citrate is more like for bowel movements. There's also like threonate for the brain, but like if you want to keep it simple, typically it's magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate, depending on what you need. Magnesium glycinate will give you more of that like magnesium in the blood, so to speak. Like so, I would say I would put pair those with vitamin D supplementation. I love omega 3. Um, just make sure you get your omega-3 from like a professional dispensary of directly from the brand that actually is tested and like high quality, because there have been these studies around like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
omega-3 like is impacting the cardiovascular risk in a negative way. But because there is a lot of companies that sell you omega-3, the quality you can never really know, right, what you're getting. It's a lot of rancid fats. So be careful. Like, and in general, I would say if you decide to take supplements, invest in good quality. You don't need a bunch. Ideally, do the blood work, see what you actually need. But what you mentioned, vitamin D and K2, magnesium, omega-3, this is like a really nice combo for any woman and any person in like midlife, kind of like it's a very supportive. Um, and then there's so many other things like for sleep, there's variety because for some women, magnesium glycinate is just like perfect. For some women, theanine, L-theanine, such a calming amino acid, and for many, many people, it works perfectly. So you need just to time it, like CBD, very anti-inflammatory, helps sleep. So it's just like then you start targeting exactly like the issue that you're trying to improve. And then you're more targeted with your supplements, and then you most likely will feel the difference. Because if you're just taking a bunch of things, like you don't even know if they're working, and still everything has to go through your liver. Like you don't need too much of things. Like try to be smart about it. And if you do the blood work, like at least once a year, you kind of know like what's going on. Because
Yeah.
there are some women will need to support their adrenals, there are some, for example, the Nabi formula has that support for adrenals, like which is awesome. I love it. Because adrenal glands are the ones that like the most taxing, like they take so much on in perimenopause. And like, for example, what helps boost adrenals is actually salt and vitamin C. So I love having some electrolytes in my water in the morning with some vitamin C, or sometimes I add some even lemon juice in there. You can just buy like concentrated lemon juice and just add like one teaspoon. It doesn't have to be always fresh, like squeezed, like you don't have time for it. But salt does boost adrenals. Vitamin C does boost adrenals. So like it's really just kind of like, I guess you have to build your own little routine, and some things you'll get from food and some things you'll get from supplements, but ideally you want to take things that you feel the difference with, at least over time. Maybe you won't feel it, maybe you track your certain markers so in your blood, like so. um it's so by individual. Not everybody needs to
Yeah.
take multi,
Yeah.
or some
So
people
many
need to
things.
take B complex, for example, right? Like it depends on your blood work
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And have to mention that iron is a huge issue for so many women, and also with heavy periods, when your progesterone starts to decline and your periods will become very heavy, you might lose a lot of iron. And a lot of women struggle with iron throughout the whole life, and it gets so much worse at that stage of life. So then you have to find the ways, either to supplement with bisglycinate, with some vitamin C boost. Sometimes take vitamin C around the meal that has high iron. Like if you have a piece of meat or salmon, which also has iron in it, take vitamin C. It just like boost with like fresh herbs and vegetables. But like taking vitamin C is easy. It can also help you absorb better that iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, and it's one of those things that iron, for example, you can just take it. You have to know, like if you need it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the good news is that there's no lack of supplements on the market. There's so many choices.
Yeah.
But like that baseline, I think what you mentioned, I like that. Just to make sure you get your omega-3 at high quality and from like a good source,
Yeah.
ideally not from Amazon, just simply because the way they store their supplements, you don't know.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
the
Yeah.
oils
Um,
get rancid.
and let me ask you a question because there's so many things that we covered. So when you think about just someone that's listening to this, that it could be overwhelming, like, oh, I need to do all these things just to just be healthier, or
Hmm.
even, shed some weight off or whatever it is. It is just very demanding in terms of all the things that you could be doing to feel better and to be better with your nutrition.
Hmm.
Where, like thinking of where to start, just like what are like a few simple tips for anyone that wants to start making these changes and to start better supporting their bodies through perimenopause with nutrition? Like, what are the one, two, three things, simple things that they can start doing today or this week? Just like,
You're asking me this like
I
great,
know,
what a
yeah.
great question. Like, how do you answer this question? Because everybody is different. Um, I think number one would be pay attention to how you feel. Because again, like maybe one coffee in the morning is great, but the second coffee completely like creates like you become anxious. Like pay attention. Maybe you shouldn't have a second coffee anymore. Maybe you only have one. You know, hydration is super, super important. So many women forget to drink water. It's just because, like, from what I hear, it's amazing to me, but like that's the reality. Um,
I carry this everywhere,
right.
everywhere.
Great. Well, there's such thing as also overhydrate. Some women overhydrate, like pee out all the electrolytes. But so like if you drink a lot of water, if you go do sauna or exercise, and you actually someone who sweats easily, make sure you add some electrolytes to your
Like,
water.
yeah,
Salt is the easiest. Um, so the simplest things would be like, yeah, hydration. Just pay attention how you feel around food, your coffee, like because coffee, everybody drinks it. So like just notice, like maybe you should like cut back a little bit. And what we talked about, the plate, just try to notice what is on your plate, like how much of protein, how much of fiber do you get? Like try to focus on vegetables and protein. Just lead with that, and then just like you will start noticing, like once you become mindful and actually present with your meals, you will notice things like you will notice symptoms, you will notice how your gut feels about certain things, you will notice are you actually hungry, how you chew. 10, like people don't even chew 10 times. When you sit down and start chewing, ideally want to chew 20 times. How many people, like, if you start counting, probably you are not chewing your food, There's like the simplest things, but because bloating is very common in peri, and there might be some sensitivities, but might be just like because you just swallowing your food, Chew your food. Drink water before your meals, not after, because you need to allow the body to digest things, all these juices that start to flow. You don't want to wash off like this acidic, like acidity in your stomach. You need that. So you don't want to drink like this cold water with a bunch of ice in it all the way throughout your meal and then after, like I would say hydration is super important. Make sure you drink before your meals. Don't try to avoid drinking large amounts of water after your meals. Chew your food at least like 10, 15 times. Just pay attention, be mindful. Lead with vegetables and protein, and then everything else will follow. Don't stress too much about the rest. And I mean, of course, like how you sleep will impact also how you feel, as that you said, amazing you met your friend, but it's just like still like lifestyle comes with nutrition. It's really hard to just kind of completely separate them. Um, so I think those would be like the basic things that unfortunately I miss so many times, like you would be surprised.
yeah. No, I know,
You
I know.
know?
We try to be, just like responsible, but it's sometimes it's hard and you completely just,
And I
forget
think
about
also
it.
it's hard because there's just so much information. Everybody's trying to optimize everything. You're just like, oh my gosh, like where do I even start? But like start with basics. Know
Basic.
yourself
Yeah,
first. Just like know yourself. Maybe journal. Like just pay attention to your body, how you feel, and you will know. Like these little changes will guide you. Like once you start paying attention, you will know. We
yeah,
always know, like inside. It's just when you listen to all this stuff, like it's amazing. There's so much information, but also it can be so overwhelming. So
yeah,
just like don't listen to some like listen to them, but like you might not work for you. Like try to listen to yourself and just pay attention. Your body will always tell you.
yeah,
Like and Baumos will always tell you if something is not working. You're you're like bloating,
yeah,
how
yeah.
you
Or
sleep.
constipated or, achy. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
Foggy. And let me ask you a
Mm-hmm.
question because we are going into November and December.
Yes.
So I want to also get your thoughts on how we navigate this season of lots of foods, lots of gatherings, because we have Thanksgiving, but also the end of the year and the holidays and getting together
Mm-hmm.
and celebrating, just there's a lot happening. So what's the best way to go through the season and stay healthy and, not overeat or overdrink or over stuff?
Well, I think what helps not to overeat, if you actually like really, this is something you're thinking about, is not to overdrink because when you start drinking, like everything goes, So I think if you're like mindful about the amount of your drinking, I personally think that, it's just like if you like try not to overconsume alcohol, you most likely will be more mindful about like, okay, I'm full, like I don't need more food. Um, the same rules apply, like drink water, it fills you up. You're gonna be less hungry. And then like lead with vegetables and protein. Like try to maybe focus on like communicating with people who you love, like you're gathering with them, like just to be with them. You don't have to eat if you don't want to. Like, I don't know. I think it's like it's a habit that, oh, because of this is we have all this food, like everybody needs to stuff themselves. I'm come from the culture where exactly this is what was happening for holidays. You just stuff yourself like crazy. And honestly, like if it happens for a couple of days because this is how you do it, like just enjoy yourself. I mean, seriously. I don't think it's the time to like beat yourself up. But if you can hydrate properly, if you can get good sleep at this time because you don't have to go to work, just focus on those positives. And maybe if you ate a little bit more than you should, you think because of based on how you felt, not because like whatever, like you should or not should, like just how you felt. Okay, go for a walk. I mean, move your body. Just like make it easy on yourself, but also kind of be smart about it. Like, no, but nobody cares how many glasses of wine you had. Truly, nobody's counting. Nobody cares if you ate this or that. Like, unless there's a grandma who cooked and she'll get like upset if you didn't eat her meal. I mean, sometimes it's just that, and you have to. But
Yeah.
I think hydration. Try to eat to have good sleep. Try not to drink a lot of alcohol really close to bedtime. Try to go for a walk after you had your last meal. I mean, it's just the simple things. I mean, some things you won't be able to control. But I think if you're the one in charge of food, like you can control what you put on the table. And everybody benefits from better food. And it's really hard to overeat if it's not processed, if it's like well done food, like with enough vegetables and then carbohydrates. And I honestly hate talking about this food like this because it's not just protein, not just fiber, right? There's so many nutrients that come with it. But yeah, just be gentle on yourself, but also be mindful. Hydration, sleep, movement after foods and meals, and just try, if you drink alcohol, try to drink it like at least like 2 hours before going to bed. So you during this holidays you can actually also restore, also recover, also sleep well, because this is a time you probably don't need to get up super early. So focus on those things, take as much as you can out of this like holiday season time, I think. Yeah, but
Love
it's,
that.
it's family time. It's hard to control those things. But one thing I've noticed, and I think everybody will agree, nobody really cares how much you eat or how much you drink. Nobody pays attention. So if you decided something for yourself, stick with it. Have like a sparkling water in your glass if you're done with wine. Like nobody cares, truly. And if they like force you, something is wrong here. Like it shouldn't be that.
You shouldn't feel that way.
No,
Yeah.
no, it shouldn't. Nobody should like force you to do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we should be like easy on ourselves at this time of the year. I think we deserve some fun and
I love
and
that. Yes, please.
rest.
Yeah, rest and
Yeah.
fun. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank you. Julia, thank you so, so much for sharing all this amazing knowledge and
Um,
all these incredible tips. And thank you for making the time to speak with us today.
oh, thank you so much. I'm such a fan that like I love your product so much and I recommend it all the time. And I take it myself. So I'm just so grateful that you invited me and I'm so happy to be a part of this community. And thank you so much for this
Thank
interview.
you.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Thank you.